I'm just going to talk just a couple minutes, let you know how this event came about, and let you know why we decided to do it. Whether you know it or not, I hope you know it, that the VSU Archives is a teaching archive. So as part of that mission, I look at collections all the time with an eye toward digitizing them and also seeing if we can use them to teach classes with. One of the collections I had my eye on long time was Tim Golden's collection. And kind of organically or fortuitously, however, say in March of this year, James LaPlante had contacted Deborah Davis, our former archivist and my mentor, about Tim donating the rest of his collection to VSU Archives, and they CC'd me on the email. So that's when Tim and I started having a conversation about his collection. And I looked into his collection, met Tim Golden, and decided that he would be a great person to have for one of our presentations. I wanted to mention a few things about Tim that I find very, very admirable. As I got to know Tim and examine his collection, I felt that he was a real special person, and like I say, we needed him at an event. I had a conversation with library administration. They suggested that I maybe include him in our Constitution Week, and I thought that would be perfect. This is a great idea and fit in with our theme. I mean, the Constitution is the longest surviving written charter of government in the world. Also, this is a time, our election year this year is particularly polarized and with a lot of acrimony on each side. So I thought, after getting to know Tim and looking at what he did, I realized that this was a genuine gentleman who, regardless of political affiliation, loved his country, loved his community, and loved VSU. His career, he started in the legislature in about 1992 and served in it until 2015. I'm not going to go through all of his bills that he sponsored, but just touch on a few that he's told me that are probably most important to him. His efforts led to the Hope Scholarship, changing of the state flag, and also a lot of VSU's changed the university status, and a lot of the buildings, a lot of the funding that we got here at VSU he was responsible for. He's been recognized by VSU numerous times, including being Alumnus of the Year in 1993. I would be remiss not to mention his family. He has a son, Seth, and a wife, Ellen, who is a Lowndes County State Judge. And I want to put rumors to rest that I started with my mistake in his publicity, that he has a daughter. He does not have a daughter. I apologize to him and his family for that. That's what happens when you get busy and you're not paying attention to details. So my fault completely. But he still serves this community. He serves on the State Transportation Board. He also is a faculty member here at VSU. In fact, I had one of his students just tell me, I wish he taught more classes. They would take them. So anyway, so with that, without further ado, and me talking anymore, I just am very excited and very proud to present a fellow Blazer, a great citizen, and a gentleman, Tim Golden.
I've got some notes, but I believe I'm going to walk out front and try to act like a teacher.
Nah.
This is all right. I'm assuming everybody can hear me. Good. You know, I don't get to give many speeches anymore like I used to all the time, so this is sort of fun to try to get back and practice a little bit. But Yogi Berra was always one of my great heroes. I don't know if anybody remembers Yogi, but he died a few years ago, but he was a great New York Yankee catcher. And one day they asked him about having a Yogi Berra Day in St. Louis. He played for the New York Yankees. You might remember he won a lot of World Series. The war hero actually was winning on the Normandy invasion. But Yogi was a great baseball player, and a great American philosopher. When he went for Yogi Berra Day in St. Louis, his opening line was, "I would like to thank everybody who made this day necessary." So for that, let me thank Doug for making this day necessary. But I'd also be remiss too if I didn't mention that my wife has had more fun being described as my daughter. We've had calls, we've have a sister. But my son's the lawyer, he's 28, my wife's a lawyer too, and a state court judge. And Ellen is not my daughter, even though Sally and I will call on some names here, was laughing, looking at her picture in the little section where they did some of my, as George Collins, the comedian, would say, my stuff. My memorabilia, we were looking at some of them. She said, Ellen could be your daughter. Look how young she looks. That picture was 30 years ago. But she still looks a lot younger than I do. But anyway, this is great to be at Valdosta State. I can tell you, you don't know what it means for me to be here today. As I walked from George Avenue across campus, looking at all the changes that have taken place here, it's absolutely awesome. If I get a little emotional, you got to understand, my mother worked here 60 years ago. I remember at West Hall, Dr. Carvajal was kind enough to come by and said just to speak, and he left for another meeting. But if he were here, he would find out that my mother's office is where his office was. She worked in public relations. It was in West Hall. I was a sixth grader, riding my bike across this campus, coming over to bum money off my mother. Valdosta State's meant a lot to me all my life. And I'm so glad Sally's here, because I'm going to get to talk about some things that's going to be memory lane for you. Y'all didn't know Sally's father was Lois Turner, state senator Lois Turner. He and I went through a lot of battles together in the 90s. I took his seat at his request. I didn't take it. I had to work for it. But his help was immense. Sally, thank you for being here. I had to mention you. I'll be mentioning some others as I go, like Dean Smith. But I do want that Dean LaPlante could not be here. I do appreciate Mark Smith and James LaPlante for allowing me the opportunity to meet somebody like Joe Robbins and be a part of his faculty as a part-time teacher. It has been a lot of fun. It's been a lifeline for me. Thank you, Joe. Let me make some comments today, though. I need to look at some of my notes, but I do want to say that a couple things. Understand that my family, you might know the reason I have such roots, it's not just my mother. My brother's a graduate of Valdosta State. I'm a graduate of Valdosta State. My late wife, Susan, was a graduate of Valdosta State and even had a master's from this university. My wife, Ellen/daughter, is a graduate of this university as well. Valdosta State means a lot to us. We bleed blazer red in my household. I want to thank everybody that's part of this university for what you do, because it means a lot to me. Doug, what you've done for me means a lot. Thank you. Let me talk a little bit, though. I'm here to talk about the Constitution, but I'm going to talk a lot about education first. You might say, why education and the Constitution? Well, they go together. You can't have one without the other. Stop and think about that for a minute. You can't have one without the other. Dixie, sitting there shaking your head, I learned as a history major a lot about Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson talked about the need for education. If you're going to be a self-governing society, education is essential. You look at the picture of me as a student at Valdosta State, I'm holding a book. It was Jefferson. In the article I'm quoted about was John Kennedy. Education and a complete and thorough knowledge of American history in particular is essential for good leadership. And I want to segue with that because I had the opportunity to serve with somebody named Zell Miller. He was governor of Georgia. My first vote in the House was the lottery. Think about that. As a freshman, 30-something-year-old kid, my first vote was the lottery. The lottery was Zell Miller's signature issue. It was controversial. Everybody looks at it now and thinks, oh wow, vote, that's wonderful. Let me tell you, the vote passed. It was a very close vote. Senate wasn't close because Zell Miller had been lieutenant governor. And he agrees to Senate. But the House, you had Tom Murphy. And his picture's in that over there as well. But Murphy wasn't fond of the lottery, but he let us vote on it. It was a tough I had an issue at the time in 1990, when I was running, my signature issue was regional university status for Valdosta State. You might think, where's he going with this? There's a connection in a minute. Royce Turner had set the stage for university status in 1989, 1988, 1990. I get elected, sworn in 91. The battle begins. The battle began. There was another guy, it's all going to connect back. There was a guy named Hugh Bailey. Anybody ever heard of that name? Anybody ever heard of Joan Bailey?
Oh, yeah.
Hugh and Joan. You can't say one. Joan and Hugh, Hugh and Joan. They were a pair. They had a signature issue too, regional university status. Think about it. That's what's all was going on in 1990. Segue into where we are today, society. Think about it a minute as I talk. But 1991, when I get elected, I helped Zell Miller, the House, as Lois was very close. Lois Turner was very close to Zell Miller, having served in the Senate many, many years. First vote we had was the lottery. We do that to help Zell Miller. Why did Zell want the lottery? Okay. Yeah, but money at the time, we didn't know it was going to go for Hope. He wanted that money. He had a dream and a vision for education. And all the previous governments, Busby, Harris, good governments, but all they talked about was we're going to do education. They had no money. So Zell comes up with the lottery, and when he gets that money, what's he do with it? Those scholarships. You know what else he did? People tend to forget this.
Galileo.
Well, Stephen Porch came along and did that, yes. Lottery money planted the seeds. Pre-K, who said pre-K? Pre-K. Meant a lot to me. Stop and think for a minute. Hope scholarships, my dad was a World War II graduate. He was 18 years old on Guam, fighting in the Pacific, thankfully fighting it past when he got there. GI Bill put him through college. So Governor Miller, the first thing I did was said, I'm for the lottery. My preachers weren't. But I'm for the lottery because it's GI Bill. He said, this is exactly what Hope is. It's going to be Georgia's GI Bill. Stop and think about what that Hope Scholarship has meant. Some of y'all may have seen this article, but recently Brian Kemp, who was not there by the way in the 90s, he came in the 2000s, served in the Senate with me. Brian Kemp talked about Hope Scholarships. $15 billion has been spent on Hope. $15 billion since the first ticket was sold in 1993. Incredible. Incredible what it meant. GI Bill sent my dad to school, to college, University of Georgia, master's at Chapel Hill. First one in my family. At the time, the only one in my family, my mother's side or my dad's side, had that opportunity for the education. Look what it did. It sent my brother and I, out of 60-something cousins, there's only a handful went to a college or a university. Hope transformed lives. Pre-K. My late wife Susan was a kindergarten teacher. She would have taught for free how much she loved teaching. She didn't live long enough to see the raises, the massive raises we did under Zell Miller. 95 to 98, 6% every single year. We went to the top of the Southeast, or almost to the top. It was heady times, Zell Miller. Stop and think about what he meant. So I have to talk about education in the Constitution because it is intertwined. But this campus, this university, regional university status, oh my gosh, I'd give anything in the world if you and Joan Bailey were here. I have to tell Doug when I came out of the meeting, when I brought my stuff, and I was remiss, by the way, I need to praise Ray, my graduate assistant, put all this together, didn't even know me. And I was like, my God, you've got my life summed up very nicely. Never even met me. Thank you. But regional university status, as I came out, Doug and I walked out of his office, I looked across, and there was a portrait of Hugh Bailey. And I said, look at him, he's looking at me. He's staring at me, saying, don't screw it up. I used to get in some fights with Tom Murphy, the legendary, powerful speaker, and I'd call Dr. Bailey and I'd say, And it got to the point, I said, Dr. Bailey, I said, I lost my temper and said some stuff about the speaker in the paper today, and he'd say, "That's all right, son. You're doing the Lord's work." So eventually I started calling him Dad, started calling Joan Mom. And right before she passed away, she left a message on my machine that said, when I had gotten out of the Senate, decided to retire. And she said, "Mom and Dad are very proud of you. We're leaving $20 at the bus station for your ticket home." I mean, you and John Bailey, they did a lot for this university, regional university status. The reason I'm going for all this, think about Zell Miller's. Zell Miller's dream was the lottery, and Hope Scholarship, and pre-K. We wouldn't have a regional university if it weren't for Zell Miller either. I don't want anybody to ever forget that. He gave us hope, he gave us pre-K, he gave us raises, he gave Valdosta State regional university status. We went through a dogfight to get it. But Zell Miller stuck with Lois Turner, Tim Golden, and Hugh Bailey. Let me say one other thing too about this. You're going to love this, Dixie, because you know it's true, but think how unique Zell Miller was as a governor. He was a college professor. How unique is that? That's unique, and that is very, very unique. Better than that, from my standpoint, was history and political science was his love. Zell Miller, young Harris, raised by teachers, college professor, taught political science, political history. That's what he loved. Hugh Bailey, historian, taught history. Do political stuff. My gosh. Do you think Zell Miller and Hugh Bailey hit it off? Oh yes. What a sweet combination. They really hit it off. They really hit it off. I was a political science / history major too. You think I enjoyed those two gentlemen? Immensely. Immensely. I bring all that up because education is so vitally important. And I'm so proud of those scholarships. I've been here 7 decades now in this life. And I look at the opportunities other than these students. Think about it. Hope has transformed more lives. Pre-K. Zell Miller was fascinated with young people at that time, at that age. You get them into 4, 5, 6 years old. Mold those minds when they're young. Fascinating. But pre-K and hope, you know what really made me so proud about it? We were the first in the country to do it. Georgia was not second fiddle to anybody. We were no longer a backwater state. What education has done for this state? We kept the best and the brightest at home. I know I'm gone preaching. But it's the truth, isn't it? Look what it's done. So today I hope if anything when you leave here, you will leave with the thoughts of what Zell Miller did for this state, what people like Lois Turner did for this state, Hugh Bailey and John Bailey did for this university, for this state. Hope you think about that. It's very important. What we do today, too, is kicking off Constitution Week is equally important. My gosh. One other thing, I can't leave here today without mentioning Dick Saban. Dick Saban was my professor and advisor. And I love Dick Saban with everything I've got. Dick Saban's interest in this kid right here turned my life around. Intern program turned my life around. Dick Saban lit a fire at me and said, "You've got to have a 3.0. I want close to 3.0. Sorry, Jay. You send my transcript. I tried to get you baby to burn before he left. I told him, I said, Clinton pardoned people when he left the presidency. He couldn't pardon my grades. Y'all know you baby had a sense of humor. But it's Dick Sager, meant a lot to me, and I have to mention that. I'm gonna mention somebody else as I talk about the Constitution too. Jane Elser taught school out here. Now remember, she taught constitutional law. She and I probably didn't have a whole lot in common on our political thoughts at times. We had one thing in common. We admired that document called the United States Constitution, what it stands for, what it means. And I want to really talk a little bit about that because Jane Elser was fascinating to me. She used to talk about those dead white men. Those dead white men. What a remarkable document they left. What a remarkable group they were. Have y'all ever thought about how lucky we were to have the kind of people that came together in that little window of time around the American Revolution? It's incredible, the brain power, the document they wrote, what it stands for. When I look at it, I think about the Declaration of Independence. I think about the writing of the Constitution in Philadelphia. I also think about the Bill of Rights. Can you imagine? My friends from the Czech Republic, they were sitting in some of my classes. Glad y'all were here. Glad you're in America. We talked a little bit after class today. The Czechs probably have a different view of America, looking from Europe to us. How many people would love to have what we have in this country? Those dead white men, as Jane Elser used to talk about, left us an incredible document. They left us with a challenge too. That's why I talk about education. Education is central. And Jefferson talked about educated citizens are critical to maintaining a free society, a self-governing society. What a fitting. I'm so honored to kick off Constitution Week talking about it. And I'm so fired up that all week long this university be talking about the Constitution, and what it means, what it stands for. Blessed we are as people who are free, self-governing. But with that, it's a big challenge, and that's where education comes in. Self-government is difficult. It's not easy. But an educated citizenry is critical to any success we have. It's more vital now than it's ever been in the history of this republic. And I like to use humor, but we don't laugh as much anymore. I was telling my class today, and I have before, humor going in this country, we used to laugh at ourselves. We don't do that anymore. We need to get back to some core American values. Dr. Plant always gets tickled when I talk about this is America. That's my way of describing it. We are free people. Got the greatest economy in the world. Got the best way of life in the world. And it's going to take education to continue that. This is such a critical week to talk about that document. Think about what it means to this country. I don't know of any other civilization that's ever had it so lucky. Because that Constitution, by the way, bugs me. This country is not ruled by men or by a dictator. It's ruled by the rule of law, not the rule of men or a person. This is a society governed by the rule of law. I'm proud that my wife's a lawyer, and I'm very proud my son's a lawyer. That I've stressed in my household just how important it is that we follow the rule of law. We follow that Constitution and about what is laid out for us. Freedom of speech and the Bill of Rights. You know, I mean, the Bill of Rights only happened because the Constitution was. Some states, we won't vote for it if we don't have the Bill of Rights. Imagine for life without the First Amendment. Can you imagine what y'all any thoughts as the connection between an educated people and a self-governing society is critical. Critical. We've been blessed with a document that allows us to govern ourselves. You have to use it wisely and be educated and make the right decisions and have to govern yourself. With that, I'll close with this. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for what you do for Valdosta State University. This is a special place. It's a special place. When I walk across campus, I think about the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I think about academic freedom. We have the ability to think whatever you want to think, live how you want to live, as long as it's under the rule of law. Thank you for what you do. God bless this country. God bless y'all. Thank you.
Thank y'all for coming. I do want to talk about a couple of events we're having this week. Please attend. We're reading the Constitution out loud in this room at 4 o'clock tomorrow, so please come to that. Also, the Political Science Department is having a panel. I believe it's going to be here also at 7 o'clock tomorrow night. And as you leave here, we've been busy. You take a right going toward the new media center by the stairs. If you look to the right from there, you'll see a little display on Tim Golden we've done. Thank you to Rhea, my graduate assistant, for putting that together. If you look to your left, you'll see a very large photographic exhibit by our university photographer, Paul Levy. That's been up for about a week now. Please take a look at that. And also, along with Paul Levy's exhibition, we have another display that's around in the first north lobby of the first floor that has a pictorial display of different places around campus you may or may not recognize. So please look around, check him out before you leave today. I want to thank Tim so much. It was a great program. I knew he would be great. He's an inspiration to us, and we're so proud he's a part of VSU. Thank you.
Tim, if you go past your exhibit down the hall in the old side of the building, you'll see a big display on the babies.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I think Doug showed it to me, but I'm going to go back through and look again. Gosh,
Yeah,
I love young and new.
and it does have big humor to add.
Nobody had a sense of humor quite like he did.